New reports tonight on high-stakes negotiations over whether and how Bob Mueller would testify about his famous probe. Sources now saying Mueller might limit any testimony that goes beyond the Mueller report to be conducted in private. Now, one source says it's Trump's DOJ, not Mueller, that is, quote, resisting a televised hearing. Now, as we wait to see whether or not Mueller's testimony would be public and what it would entail, consider, of course, when he's testified in the past.
I will pull no punches in terms of where that investigation would lead, and we would go down any path that would lead to evidence on individuals, organizations, or otherwise.
I'm joined by Glenn Kirschner, a former federal prosecutor who worked for Bob Mueller directly in the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office for several years. You see them there together. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks, Ari.
How do you view this new reporting about the negotiations?
You know, it doesn't surprise me that because Bob Mueller is still a DOJ employee, that Barr may be continuing to put his thumb on the scale against an appearance, or if reluctantly he has to agree to an appearance by a DOJ employee, that he wants it to either be behind closed doors or not televised, because I think he already knows, by virtue of that scathing letter that Bob Mueller authored rebuking Barr's sort of ridiculous characterization of some of the findings in his report. I think Barr already knows that when and if Bob Mueller testifies publicly, he's going to wow the public with facts and with authority and with precision.
When you read that post reporting, you are giving more credence to the sources saying it's Barr DOJ holding him back, not Mueller saying, hey, I can't talk about much in public.
I am, Ari, but here's what it also made me think about. Listen, as prosecutors, when we investigate a case and when we present it to the grand jury and when we ask them to vote out an indictment and then ordinarily we proceed to trial, of course, here we can't because of the ill-advised OLC memo saying you can't indict a criminal president. We don't then sit down and talk about, really in any setting, what all of the witnesses said and what all of the evidence is. So it doesn't surprise me if Bob Mueller's instinct might be, listen, it's all in the report. In fact, when Barr says no collusion, no obstruction, Bob Mueller could simply point to the report and say, it's all in here. I never said no collusion.
And that's an important point, because doesn't that also go to an implicit criticism of the way some Democrats are approaching this, which was debated by some of our panelists earlier in the hour, which is, if you're calling Bob Mueller in to do something, like we got this report, we want to explore potential impeachment, whether that be of the president or other officers of the United States, or some other act, isn't that different than saying, Bob Mueller, come do Reading Rainbow with us and read us your report?
Exactly. Bob Mueller could take the principled position, look, folks, it's all there, 448 pages of it. And look at the way he concluded, Ari, Volume 2. Could it be any more transparent or, frankly, any more powerful? And if I could just read it briefly, this is how Bob ended Volume 2, which was chock full of obstruction of justice by the president. He said, the protection of the criminal justice system from corrupt acts by any person, including the president, accords with the fundamental principle of our government that no person in this country is so high that he is above the law, period. I could see Mueller taking the principled position that, folks, it's all there, and to have me regurgitate what I've put in writing or testify in a hearsay fashion about what the witnesses said that led me to this conclusion is not what you need. What you need is the witnesses.
I think that has been an implication up and down in his approach thus far. He's not going to rent a plane and skywrite the line you just said over the blue skies of the Congress. He doesn't want to do a dramatic reading. That is not who he is in his style. And unless and until he was being called in a different capacity, for example, to help present a case, if the Senate were trying a case, it's not clear what the show and tell would do, which is why that post-reporting that goes to this negotiation is so interesting. Glenn, as a Mueller insider, Muellerologist, we appreciate you coming on. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.